Hello, my name is Dominic Matthews. Welcome to my second video diary. Thank you for those who have come after seeing the first one. For those of you who haven't, this is the second video diary of my research and development grant, which has been given very, very generous funding by Arts Council England as part of their National Lottery project grant, of which I am incredibly grateful. The name of the grant is Tiresias 2.0. It is about working towards the score, working towards the soundscape for my second opera. Tiresias 2.0 is ultimately a piece about our relationship with nature. So, from the research into ancient instruments and into prehistoric music, it's apparent that not only is there the relationship between music and nature in a very literal sense, in that a bone flute is made from a vulture bone, in that the ney was made from the natural resources that would have existed in Egypt at the time, but then there is also the extra depth that shamanistic, ritualistic music embodied the essence of nature, and so explores our evolution from something that held nature in the highest regard to a society that is more and more destructive towards nature. And so this piece of music is an odyssey for humanity, that it takes us on a journey that reminds us of our roots and hopefully inspires people into positive change. What I wanted to explore with this workshop was finding ways to contrast the music that Mina's instruments produce from the ney, the daduk, the vulture bone flute replica, and the sounds that Mark Pilkington's synthesizer produces, which is man-made, creates an array of colour, an array of manufactured sounds, and then eventually creating something where they complement each other, where they work together in a kind of synthesis. How did I explore that in this workshop? I'll start with what I kind of had the idea of being for the beginning. So the beginning, I wanted to create these idea of these kind of fragmentary ideas, these miniatures, but they're all just sporadic. It's just kind of crazy. There's just chaotic sounds, and that's trying to describe the catastrophe of what's happened to the Earth, what's happened to the planet. We worked towards more of the ideas of the key theme, this kind of natural sounds and electronic sounds. How can we create something that sounds really obvious that it is in conflict, and then reaching towards that synthesis in the end. We then explored this idea of texture. So we went through these kind of chords. We explored different voicings of the chords. And we realized that by doing the chords, you can have a really cool effect, where if you use different levels of vibrato in the chords, it affects the texture. Now, the synthesizer is really good at mimicking these vibratos in the instruments. So we explored that the synthesizer comes in and you can't tell the synthesizer is in. But then by manipulating the vibrato, by manipulating the tone, it then becomes something that's different from the rest of the sound. And then finally, the ending, exploring the ending. The prophet is looking forwards and backwards to try and find this reason to why things have happened, to try and find answers. So we come to a point so far into the future where all the atoms of the universe, all the atoms of the planet, everything has just, it's all kind of pulled apart and everything's back to being almost like it was in the Big Bang. And then we kind of went back to the idea of the Big Bang, it's the same thing, there's these atoms flying around. So what I did was explore, there's just like this nothingness, this silence. And then these tiny little fragmentary ideas kind of come in, like really quiet, really inaudible, tiny little bits of something. And they're really sporadic, and they're really surrounded by this silence. and then they are interacting with each other, like little atoms kind of in this vast cosmos, just kind of clashing into each other every now and then. And then it becomes evident that these sounds are kind of shading more of a kind of tone center, more of a pitch. So there's a big kind of spectral music influence there. And there's this sound coming together and it's kind of forming around a pitch center. And it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. And it just comes to this giant wall of sound based around an E, centered around a low E, because it sounds really nice on a trombone when you've got low E notes. It can really like roar. So that was the ideas that I've explored in this second workshop. Now the third workshop, the first open workshop, is going to be in Manchester Central Library on the 28th of March. And until then, thank you once again for watching, and please stay safe. say more like sparse harmonics. I'd say faster as well, like more